So what really interested me about the Egyptian myths and compiling a new book about all of this was basically the insight it gives you into Egyptian psychology and the general worldview. One of the fascinating things about the Egyptian gods and goddesses is that they're not omnipresent and they're not omniscient. What you do encounter is their manifestations. So what you often find is that the gods are present in the sky in a way that we can't understand. But their true features, the way they actually appear, is completely unknown to you until death. So these images that we see on the temple walls, they are just ways of finding a way of representing this unknowable force, which means that effectively the Egyptians didn't really believe they had animal heads, the gods, for example. This is a way of expressing an element of their character, just a way of drawing it, a way of getting it down, something that you cannot comprehend. The god Amun is a bit different because they say that if you understood his true character, the true god, you'd drop down dead straight away. So it's probably best you don't know him very well. If you were an ancient Egyptian and you stepped outside your house and you looked around you, you would see everything that a person today sees, but you would be seeing it in a very different way through your cultural interpretation. The great blue expanse that we see as the sky to them was a body of water that could be crossed by a boat, hence why the sun god travels on a boat. The world we live in is one big bubble in a massive expanse of water. So what you're seeing when you look up at the sky from the Egyptian perspective is the underside of this great endless ocean that just goes on forever. It's their equivalent to space. Where we would send a spaceship, they would send a submarine, basically. It's this endless, dark, inert ocean that goes on forever called Noon. But then you take it a bit further and you understand that is being held back by the force of the goddess Nut. So although the goddess herself might be elsewhere, perhaps in the sky somewhere, or travelling around in the afterlife realm, or wherever she might be, a manifestation of her power is always keeping that at bay. And then all around you, generally, in the atmosphere, the thing that keeps you alive, is the god Shu. So when you feel the wind in your face, for example, we're told that that's Shu touching your face. You're in contact with the god in that way. And so all this natural phenomena is constantly the gods around you in some manifestation or other. To the ancient Egyptians, death was a transition. You weren't travelling to this heavenly-like other dimension, if you will. You were going somewhere far away that you can't reach it when you're alive. We're told that the world, the created world, was divided into sky, land, and duat. And duat is this afterlife realm that you could only get to when you died. You see, the Egyptians believed that a person was made up of many elements, and the person disintegrated, broke into these pieces when you died. And an aspect of you went to the duat, and then you journeyed through this quite dangerous landscape on your way to get judged by Osiris. But along the way, you'd have to meet many trials and tribulations. You had to pass demons and know how to speak to them. And so you found people being buried with the Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead is effectively a lonely planet to the afterlife. It is your guide to getting from your point of death to the judgment. It lets you know the spells, it lets you know the names of the gates, it lets you know the gods and the demons you might encounter, who might be helpful, who to avoid. The afterlife duat is full of mounds, it's full of caverns as well, and so these features of the landscape are described, and you know who you would meet as you were travelling around. Not everybody, I assume, was confident that they would get through to the afterlife in that sense, to pass the judgment, and so they cheated as much as possible. If you were rich enough and you were mummified, you would be buried with a heart scarab that had a spell on it that would compel your heart to testify in a good way for you in front of Osiris once you reached the judgment hall. And the Book of the Dead itself was full of these spells that would allow you to cheat as you pass through the afterlife. You would already know the spells, you would be guaranteed a way of passing the gates, but also because of the way it describes you positively passing the judgment of Osiris, magically you're always going to succeed. And it's probably not a way most people think of the afterlife, that you can actually cheat your way to eternity. The myths are explanations for natural phenomena on the whole, and so I found that fascinating, that as a way of looking at the world. That's quite different from the way we do it today.